We're not asking for regime change. We're asking for respecting the will of the people. And the people will be the one that will take care and protect this transition so that it is orderly. It is the force of the people that want to be together, united as a nation they can feel proud of.
That was María Corina Machado, the winner of the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize and the leader of the Venezuelan opposition. She had called in from an undisclosed location in Venezuela, where she is in hiding for her own safety. Venezuela is on the brink. President Trump hasn't ruled out any options for the country, and he has reportedly authorized covert CIA activity. Nicolás Maduro, the country's dictator, has been here before and survived. But Maria thinks that this time is different. She spoke with me about her Freedom Manifesto, which lays out a vision for Venezuela after the dictatorship. I wanted to talk to her not only about the geopolitical situation, but about what life is like for everyday Venezuelans who remain in the country. And I asked her to speak directly to Americans who worry about the military buildup in the region and think this might just be another Iraq. I'm Adam O'Neill, opinion editor at The Washington Post, and here is my interview with María Corina Machado. Thanks for talking to us. The manifesto, it really is a powerful document. And to start, I just want to know why now? Why is now the moment to publish this and put it out into the world?
Look, this is a turning point in Venezuelan history, perhaps one of the moments that we have fought harder as a nation ever. After 26 years of devastation, Venezuela is at the threshold of freedom. And it has taken many lives of Venezuelans that have been imprisoned, tortured, killed, forced to flee their country, separated from their families. Thousands and thousands that have given everything for freedom. And finally, it's here. So this is a moment in which we have united around our common values, those virtues that define the Venezuelan people from our origins to this critical and decisive moment in our lives and in our history.
And the manifesto, like I said, is such a powerful document. You talk about human dignity being the foundation of all freedom. And there's a range from freedom of speech, something we're familiar with in the United States or as a journalist like me, but also freedom to start a business, to be safe from danger, a wide range. You've also said that the democratic transition, it's not theoretical, it's happening. What is life like in Venezuela at this moment for the average Venezuelan?
You know, I think it's unbelievable to think that a country that used to be the richest country in the region, that has the largest oil reserves in the world, is today one of the poorest societies in the world. I mean, we're talking about 86% of Venezuelan population living in poverty. You know how much is the pension, the monthly pension, Adam? $1 a month. Our children go only twice a week to school, to public schools, because teachers earn $1 a day, so they need to get out of jobs in order to eat, and go to the hospitals, and the nurses are paid less than what they cost to mobilize, to move and go, and they still keep going because of this profound love for their profession. And so, look, you mentioned basic human rights that derive from dignity, and when you think what's going on in Venezuela, starting with freedom of speech, what you mentioned, any of your colleagues that would simply for talking to me, they would be in prison. You know, the day that the Nobel Prize was announced, one journalist in the radio dared to mention the news. He just read the news. Luis Olavarrieta. He was fired just because he mentioned my name. Young Venezuelans have been put into prison because they posted a picture of someone the regime doesn't like. So today, just for posting in your social network, you would be persecuted. And if they go to your house, looking for you, and if they don't find you, just like happened with Miguel Kitchen, a member of our party, they detained his mother, his daughter, his son, and his granddaughter, a 2-year-old baby, detained because they were looking for her grandfather. So that's what's life of rainbow today in Venezuela. And it's horrific.
And you're in Venezuela. I wanted to ask about that. You're writing this document, and it's signed that you're in Venezuela at the bottom of it. Why was it important to you to stay? You're risking your life. I'm not it's not breaking news to you. You know that there's danger in staying instead of fleeing, and there's a long history of opposition leaders leaving a hostile country. Why was it important for you to stay? And what insight does that give you as Venezuela, as you say, is trying to enter this new transition and move away from the Maduro regime?
Well, I have to say, it hasn't been an easy decision because I always ask myself where I am more useful to our cause. And I ask that to myself not only every day, several times a day. And if you had asked me a year ago, a year and a half almost, that I would spend a week on my own in isolation, I would say, not able. I couldn't stand it. And not being able to touch people, to see people on your eyes, to hug someone. Christmas Eve, on my birthday, on my children's birthday. But I am convinced that I am much more useful here, close to the Venezuelan people. They knowing that I'm here, that our fight, our most important fight, is within our nation and resisting and also, building from these terrible conditions in which we are, but getting closer. And I've learned that even without being able to touch someone, you can be very, very close and intimate. So it's been quite a discovery, and we have built a great platform, grassroots, organized under this, under cover and under persecution, but that it's very solid and very safe because we care and protect each other.
And I want to ask, in the manifesto, you write, since Maduro assumed power, more than 18,000 political prisoners have suffered. The world must not turn its back. The criminal regime must be held accountable. And what do you say to Americans who they look at what's happening in Venezuela, they see a massive human tragedy? I don't know anyone who doesn't feel bad about what's happening, but at the same time, they see an armada of American warships in the Caribbean. They see strikes on boats. And some of them say, I feel for the Venezuelan people, but this reminds me of Iraq, or we're worried and saying, we have a lot of problems at home and my heart goes out to you. Maybe I'll donate, but we don't want America involved in this. What's your message to those people in the audience who might be skeptical as much as they agree with the principles and the ideas? What do you say to the skeptics?
I totally understand, but I want to start saying that, the conflict that has destroyed my country doesn't stop in our borders. A third of our population, almost 9 million people. Imagine if a third of the population of your country were forced to flee, what it would mean. And these are people that are forced to go somewhere else to survive, just to send food back to their children. I mean, these are women that have left babies back. And when I travel around Venezuela, I used to travel around my country, I would find, these very, very young children with the very old grandparents, because even, the aunts and uncles have also been forced to flee. So this is a tragedy that has expanded. But from Venezuela, the regime has decided to turn our country into a safe haven for the enemies of Western democracies from other countries. to destroy our country, to destroy our families and our lives, but also to expand these criminal activities from this safe haven, this satellite that is only 3 hours away from Florida. 3 hours away.
And tell me, and I think we would all want Venezuela, certainly I do, and the opinion section, we've wrote this when we wrote about your manifesto. We all want Venezuela to be a prosperous democracy, which it was not that long ago in the lifetimes of many of our readers, and certainly within my own lifetime. How do you get from the current state to there? And I know that could be a whole, hours long discussion, but in short, for those who are watching, how do you explain people who look and they say, they read this document and they totally agree with its principles? I can't imagine anyone who would disagree. But how do you get from this difficult state after a quarter century of Chavismo to a prosperous democracy, a hub for prosperity, as you describe it in the document? How do you get there?
Look, first of all, we have to understand what we have lived in the last years. Certainly, authoritarian regimes and tyrannies, they need to divide society in every dimension. Let's say racial or religious or ideological. They need to clash. Some people against other people, and we in the last years have teared down those barriers because there was one longing that brought us all together, regardless of where we came from. It is we want our children back home. We want our families reunited in their land forever. And this is such a powerful, force that everything that had divided us was left on the side. And we united around these values. That's why this manifesto is so powerful, because it is what has brought Venezuela on our feet again, what has brought us together. That's what we feel. So when people say, how are you going to go from these, ruins to a land of praise, it's precisely around the people. I mean, it is the force of the people that want to be together, united as a nation they can feel proud of, nation that they can speak out freely without fear to be silent forever, a nation where they can invest how they want and preserve their savings without nobody taking them away, a society in which they can choose how to educate their children. And when for the first time you will have the state serving the individuals and society and not the other way around. So this is so powerful. This is transformational for Venezuela, certainly. And I have to tell you something. Some people say, well, are you afraid that because of the weakness of institutions that have been demolished, it's going to be so hard to build this up? And I say, well, you can see it the other way around. We won't have friction costs, and we won't have groups of interest that resist that profound change. So you mentioned it before and want to insist this. Venezuela is not like other countries in the Middle East that have gone through, long processes of authoritarian regimes that change. This is not regime change. We voted. We mandated a change of the regime a year and a half ago under absolutely, unjust and extreme conditions. We had no money. Zero media. You know how many interviews I did in the whole campaign and TV? Zero, not one ad. And we organized 1 million volunteers, and we won. So this is not, we're not asking for regime change. We're asking for respecting the will of the people. And the people will be the one that will take care and protect this transition so that it is orderly, peacefully, and irreversible.
And when I know we're running out of time here, so I just want to ask, you've said this has begun, right? And it's a very powerful document. It's beginning to disseminate. People are reading it. It's available in Spanish, of course. When am I going to be able to come to Caracas and meet you in person? And you're not in hiding anymore, but truly, this is, when do you think we'll be at that point in Venezuela? I understand it's a process, but when when do you think it will be safe and, possible for you to come out and speak openly and to be with the people?
We have been fighting for 26 years. And I can tell you that from all that we've learned, because we have committed mistakes and we have great successes, we have grown so much as a society. I would say that there is no other generation in Venezuelan history. The value so much, freedom, family, and the possibility to move around freely in their homeland as this generation. And I believe that we are very close. We're at the threshold of freedom. And I promise I will host you. I will show you around the most beautiful country in the region with good, family loving, hardworking Venezuelans that have learned that freedom is required to be defended and fought for every single day of their life. And democracy has to be strengthened with that culture that starts in your young people that grow valuing what it means to be a citizen and the responsibilities that it involves. Because freedom comes with responsibility. And that's one of the greatest lessons the Venezuelan people have learned. And I believe that this, huge journey and unprecedented achievements that we have done in liberating, that we will end up liberating Venezuela, will serve also as inspiration and example for other societies around the world.
Well, thank you for your time and for the invitation. La próxima vez hacemos la entrevista en Caracas, pero hasta...
En Venezuela, donde están las playas más bellas del planeta.
bueno, prefiero la playa, eso es mejor.
Y los rainforest, y el rainforest que nos los han destruido, pero que lo vamos a preservar. Pero sobre todo la gente. Gracias, Adam.
Gracias por su tiempo.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.